Hannah,
or
you
we could
have
just
what in your eye?
a glimmer of hope, dare I say, a dream, a wish. I have a glimmer of believing in the unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
in my eye right now.
I want to believe.
I do too. Do you desperately want to believe in this week's? Oh wait, hang on a second. What time is it?
I think it's tin hat time.
10 hat time. Time for those 10 hats. Ooh, baby, yeah. Yes, this is a subject this week that I desperately want to believe in.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Me too. Tell us about it.
Okay, so this week, you guys are doing it. We're fucking doing it. We're gonna talk about Bigfoot. Ah!
Yeah.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch. It's a subject that is words about it. People feel a lot about this subject. I
They
completely
do.
just forgot how to speak the English language for a second there. I don't know if you caught on to that, but
I did. I just let
yeah.
you drown.
I know. I watched you. I watched you like watch me
I
be
was
like,
waiting
"Come
if
on,
you were gonna.
Megan,
I was waiting
throw
for
me
you to
a
pick it
word."
back up, but no.
One fucking word, like it could be, something that's debated. It could be, it's
Yeah.
one of those, and you just let me make weird sounds into the microphone and you didn't help me. And
You're welcome. You're
thank
welcome.
you.
It is something
I
that's like I think a worldwide thing. I think it's not just like a
absolutely,
US phenomenon. It's like a
no, it's
worldwide.
not. So yeah, so what, we're gonna talk, like I said, we're gonna talk about Bigfoot today. One of my main sources is, as always, Wikipedia. If you have $5, go throw it to them, because they could use it probably. They're always asking for money every time I click on their fucking website. They're like, could you give us $3? I'm like, I can't, but maybe our listeners can. Maybe they're not
Hmm,
as broke as we are.
maybe.
Anyway, so a lot of my information today came from Wikipedia. And I wanted to start off with giving us some of the different names for Bigfoot so we could get a real good like feel for this critter, this creature that's out and about.
Hmm.
Obviously, he's known as Bigfoot. Mostly known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch in North America, specifically the Pacific Northwest region of Northern California, Oregon, Washington, some areas of Idaho, and British Columbia. Those are like the big, that's the PNW.
I thought like
Um,
Colorado was like about him too. Is
Okay,
that
so here's the thing about Colorado is some people like it's a rocky state. It's like one of the Rockies states or it's a middle square one, depending on who you ask.
yeah, I mean it's just a
But
really
there are
mountainous area.
yes, but there have been sightings of the Bigfoot in across the continental United States. In the American South, it's known as the skunk ape, the swamp ape, or my favorite one in Virginia, they call him the wood booger.
I'm sorry, what?
The wood booger. He's the wood. You heard that the wood
Why?
booger was out and about because he's a big old booger out in the woods. I don't know, but it made me like I was pacing around and like reading stuff on my phone and like mumbling to myself about Bigfoot, like a normal sane person would do. And then I
Yeah.
read like in Virginia, he's known as the wood booger. And I sat down on the floor. I was laughing so hard. And I was like, please, God, can we rebrand Bigfoot to just wood booger?
That's an odd choice.
Here comes the
For,
wood booger, y'all. Um, So in America, those are his different names: Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skunk ape, swamp ape, wood booger, Momo in Missouri. There's a bunch of different like the brush ape. Anything that just has like ape at the end of it, we're
yeah.
talking about the same critter here. He in Asia, it's known as the Yeti, Almas, and the Yirin. I'm probably saying those wrong, except for Yeti. And in Australia, he's also been spotted in Australia, where he's known as the Yowie, which is fun. I like that
Yeah.
one.
That is. That is
It's
a good
like
one.
it makes me picture like him wearing like a fun shirt and being like Yowie, like I don't know, just
Yowie
chilling.
wasawi. Like just
Yeah, Yowie, Zowie,
that
bitches,
needs
let's
to
go get
be.
stoned. I'm the Yowie. It's cool.
Yeah. Hmm.
He just feels like he'd be dope to kick it with. but I've been to Australia and everything there will kill you immediately. So he's probably the toughest one of the bunch.
Where he just punches you in the face and you say, Yowie.
At Yowie.
Yeah, that's
You get a yowie
Yowie.
owie. You get a yowie owie.
That's dumb.
I like how we both just groaned.
I fucking hate it.
Like, we're bad people. Someday we'll figure out how to delete this shit.
Yeah, right. Edits.
We'll figure it out. So what is the Bigfoot? You may be asking yourself right now. You've been living under a fucking rock since the 60s.
Call me Patrick.
So the Bigfoot, you what?
I said call me Patrick.
Call me Patrick? Okay. You nerd.
He lives under a rock.
No, I know.
I wasn't sure if you knew. I mean, there was gaps earlier, so I didn't want to have any long pauses.
Shit. You're rude. Okay, so a basic description of a boy Bigfoot is that he is about 7 to 10 feet tall, or 2 to 3 meters for our Australian and UK listeners who might not know what feet are. No, I'm sure you guys know, but I don't know why we just like really clung to being the only people who say things in feet. But he's 7 to 10 feet tall.
Needlessly stubborn.
Well, yeah, we're the Tauruses of the world. So he has been described in different areas as either having black fur, brown fur, or like a reddish brown fur. It's described as being bipedal. So that's, standing upright. We're bipedal. If he was quadrupedal or like quadruple.
I'm not going to be helpful
I'm not
for that
gonna
one.
continue trying to say
Those are
that
words I read, but I never say out loud.
And agreed, ditto. But like gorillas and chimpanzees, orangutans, the others of the great apes who walk on like their knuckles, they are not bipedal all the time. Like they have a different bone structure, like a different set to them. So like it's, and I'm going to use this word loosely here, illogical to assume that Bigfoot would be just like an escaped great ape, because he's not a knuckle walker. He's upright. Like everything that every encounter with Bigfoot or Sasquatch, wood booger, has been that he's upright, stands, and like has like kind of like a hunched gait, but is absolutely bipedal with formed buttocks, which is like important because only like people have butts because we stand upright. Like we need butts to walk.
Yeah.
And to look cute. I mean, I know some people without butts, but technically, they do have a buttocks there that helps them walk around. They just look like Hank Hill.
Yeah, Dan.
I wasn't gonna say names, dude. I wasn't gonna name anybody in this one. I was just gonna think about them, and I was gonna let every dude that we know who listens to this be like, God, is she talking about me? And then try to be like, yeah, probably you. It's you. If you think we're talking about your Hank Hill butt, we are.
Yeah, it's you.
But yeah, it's you. It's always been you. Flat ass. Just gotta slap it.
Anywho.
The fuck are we talking about? So Bigfoot has a butt is basically what I'm getting at. And that proves the bipedalness of it, because you gotta stand up and like you gotta have a badonkadonk to walk around up on your 2 feet all the time. So not only is he covered in fur, but with kind of like a human-like face with like protruding lips and like a flat nose. Like that's what's always said to be seen as like the human, like the face looks very human. So like we like in comparison to other animals have a more like a flat, like wider nose, and we have like that protruding kind of like lip on like the forward facing eyes. I don't know why I keep touching my face to like emphasize this when
you're doing it verbally too. It's okay.
Okay, cool, good. I'm just very excited. Can you tell?
I can tell.
I'm really into that. I also drank a full pot of coffee today, so enjoy, kids. So yeah, along with them having like the fur that comes around their faces, their hands seem to be kind of free of fur, especially the palms. Like areas on the chest seem to be kind of free of fur, like it's kind of like grown back, and the soles of the feet as well.
So like sort of like chimpanzee, like that sort of
ish, like it kind of like that. Yeah, kind of like that.
Like
but
very
like
similar.
Up and around.
Yeah.
But there's something unique that comes with them, with the Bigfoot, that doesn't necessarily come with any of the greater apes, which is a smell.
Oh.
The Bigfoot smells fucking terrible. There have been reports that he smells like a skunk, hence the name skunk ape. That a foul, like rotten egg or sulfurous odor can accompany the appearance of the wood booger. Or also, he could smell like smegma, which, if you don't know what that is, that's a foul-smelling and yeasty secretion that gets caught in the folds of skin, typically in a man's, foreskin, which is unfortunate. And just, bleh.
Is that like
that's
earring?
What they smell like.
Earring back smell?
What?
Like, like the back of your earrings?
Yes. That horrible earring back smell. Or when I have my ears gauged out and I wear the plastic ones, there's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's what Bigfoot smells like.
It's sort of like cheese. It's
yeah.
forbidden cheese. That's like a meme.
I don't like that. I've never heard that before. I don't want to hear it called forbidden cheese. But yeah, wood booger smells like smegma, so you can smell them coming. And so like there's different reportings of the sounds that can accompany a Sasquatch sighting. Or like sometimes like there's no like actual sighting. It's just like you hear like deep like grunts and howls and like kind of like a scream kind of a sound.
Yeah.
And of course all the skeptics like to say that these could be attributed to a known animal, but like he did it. That's no fun. I don't care what sometimes owls sound like. That's a squatch. So
screw science.
Fuck you, science. We're not here for science. We're here for pseudoscience and cryptozoology. Buckle up, bitches.
I'm sorry, go on.
Today. So sightings. So today I figured we're just kind of going to do a little bit of a Bigfoot 101 introduction to the concept. A little bit of like a get to know you, getting to know all about you. That kind of a thing.
That's good. I don't really know anything about Sasquatch, honestly. I literally listened to one podcast about it, like I think it's Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's like PG-13, last podcast on the left.
Yeah, I like it better than last podcast. Sometimes they get grating. I love them, but still, like, they get sometimes grating for me. Mostly Henry Zabrowski. Like, I
would climb Ben Kissel like a tree. We've talked about this a few times.
Is that I always mix them up. Is that the one that's like
he's the gigantic one?
No, but like I listen to them. I don't watch them. So who's the one that like mostly like
hey, guys,
narrates?
Last podcast on the left. No, that's Marcus. We can't just keep having this conversation on our podcast every time that somebody casually mentions the last.
Have we talked about it before?
Because you don't listen to our own goddamn show, Megan. Yes, we have like 4 times.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Okay, so off the podcast, I'm going to send you pictures and voice. I'm going to be like, this one's this one, so that we don't have to redo this anymore. Mm-hmm.
But no, so I don't really know much about Sasquatch though. I just listened to that one as like an overview. I guess it's just something I always avoided as like kind of like just nonsense, honestly. Like that's the truth. I fell into more of the alien stuff than like Bigfoot.
Well, they hold hands, dude.
Yeah,
aliens
no, that's
the Sasquatch could be.
When we get to wild speculation, I would like to wildly speculate about that. So.
Oh yeah, when we get to wild speculation time, I have some fun shit for wild speculation time.
Okay, I'll stop interrupting. Anywho.
Thank you. Anywho. For fuck's sake. But also, it's insane to me that you don't like. I guess I just always assume that everybody out there has like a baseline knowledge about Bigfoot because I grew up being just like, well, this is a thing that's happening out there in the world. Like, obviously, why aren't we learning about this in school?
That's because I learned about a lot of Jesus. That's why.
You were educated in your living room.
Yeah.
And I was educated in the backwoods of the Appalachians. They tried to teach me about Jesus in school.
I feel like that's
and
pretty.
As you can tell by everything about me, it didn't sink in. But because like I just feel like everybody knows about Bigfoot, but I guess if you don't, maybe okay. We're gonna get the fuck into this now, dude. Like I thought that we were just kind of like doing a together brush over of Bigfoot, but you don't know shit. All right, we just switched from 6 to fucking midnight.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, Bigfoot. Okay, so most of I'm gonna focus on the American Bigfoot primarily because that's the one that I'm the most familiar with. I wrote like a 25 fucking page research paper on Bigfoot in college for one of my research classes.
Okay, let's
and my
get to
teacher,
it.
you should have seen the fucking face when I turned that in.
Let's
Like,
get
are
to
you
it.
kidding me?
Let's do it then.
So most of the sightings happen in the Pacific Northwest. Like I was saying earlier, that would be Washington, Oregon, the Northern California, and British Columbia. But also throughout the American South, there are a lot of sightings of the skunk ape. And there's always the same kind of like, there's like always a weirdness about before you see the thing, which is kind of similar to like an alien encounter or like a fae encounter, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to wild speculation time. But a lot of times, like people won't see the actual creature itself, but tracks are found a lot. And one of the things that's really interesting about some of the more credible cases of the tracks are the whorls and the patterns in their feet. Because like, if you look at your foot, like there's whorls like that are up at the top and kind of run laterally down your foot and then swirl again kind of like around the heel.
Yeah, like your footprint has like the same as like fingerprint,
yeah, it's
right?
like a handprint kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell from a footprint that's left behind whether a creature was like walking, running, or like had it stood there for a bit.
Yeah, or
That
like
kind
if
of
you
a thing.
see like handprints on a car hood, like you know what
That means
happened.
I have an off-the-air story for you.
I know. Go on.
No, shut up. I know you know that story. Leave me alone. One time, Megan. One fucking time. So one of the leading experts in Bigfoot research is Dr. Jeff Meldrum of the Idaho State University up in
Moscow.
Moscow. Yeah. Is it Moscow or Moscow?
I always said Moscow. I don't know, but it's Idaho, not Russia.
It's not said the way the one in Russia is said. I always mix it up.
Northern Idaho. It's up in northern Idaho.
It is up in northern Idaho, which
Solutions.
Yes. Live solutions coming at you live, figuring it out.
It's a real ranty one.
Because we're professionals.
Sure.
Professionals. So Dr. Jeff Meldrum is one of the leading experts in the analysis of the footprints. He's also a anthropology professor up there. So like he's like a real deal. Like I briefly was in communication with him back in, I want to say 2011 when I was writing that paper. Like I reached out to him and asked him for like, you know, you have to do like the professional interview, whatever kind of a deal. So I reached out to him. He was a very nice guy, really extremely very knowledgeable. And he's talked about many times like some footprints that have been found and cast and how it shows that the big toe is in line with the rest of the foot, much in the way that the human toe is. It's obviously much larger, or its name wouldn't be Bigfoot. So they have an average foot length of like 10 to 15 inches. I didn't write down what that was in centimeters. I'm sorry, guys. But
what size shoe would that be?
Big ass.
Big ass Shaq size?
Feet. Probably. I don't know. I think Shaq would have bigger feet than the Bigfoot, but I'm not.
I kind of want to Google it, honestly.
We can put that in speculation land for later. If you know what size Shaquille O'Neal's feet are, please send that to me at tinhattimepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.
No, I think he wears like a 22.
Probably.
Well, he wears like a 22 or 23.
They definitely have to be custom made. So with Jeff Meldrum has, or Dr. Meldrum has investigated a lot of like these the castings done by the feet, and like there's some that are able to be kind of like ruled out, but there's some where it's like if the ridges are in such a way, if like the whirl of feet, like you can tell like when the foot is in motion, it's like, I don't know, man, it would be pretty difficult to take a wooden like block print and like fake it looking in motion, like because there's plenty of fake, and that's That's the goddamn problem with the Bigfoot stuff out there, is that these motherfuckers are like setting shit back all the time by selling fake, like literal gorilla suits filled with hamburger to people, like to be like, oh, found a Bigfoot, or like all the fake bullshit. It really does a lot of damage to the people who are genuinely trying to answer this question. It's super frustrating. Like, if you think that you saw Bigfoot and you're for real about it, then yes, please speak up. But if you're trying to find attention, just like find it in a different way. Fake a ghost sighting, man. Like, Bigfoot could be out there, and I'd like to know, and I'd like the bullshit to stop. Getting right at you, Tom Biscardi. Anyway, yeah. So some of the behavior that the Bigfoot exhibits in the sightings or in the near sightings of it is that he'll throw rocks at people or trucks or like other things to try to get them to go away.
Me too.
Yeah, you're a big rock thrower in the world.
I'm so good.
There are instances of reporting. Whoa, thunderstorm just started out here. I don't know if you guys could hear that.
No.
Cool. This is perfect weather for it too. So there's instances of people like saying that they were stalked by the Squatch. Like feeling like his presence like around, or like seeing things like out at their cabin and being like, something's out there, motherfucker. I know what I saw. There are reports of structures being made deep in the woods, like off trails, like found by like hunters and stuff like that, of like twisted branches and like sapling trees that have bent down and kind of like wrapped around, like very artistically, primitively, but artistically, like to the point where it was clearly an intentional thing and not like an inadvertent geofact, like a naturally forming something that could trick you into thinking it was an artifact.
Like as like a trail marker sort of a thing?
Kind of. They are assumed to be either artistic expression of a very primitive creature or some sort of like a territorial marking. There have been nests found deep in the woods where like they had primatologists come out and be like, that shit looks like it was made by a primate. Like, I'm just gonna throw that shit out there. Like, yeah. There's been instances of deer carcasses found extremely high in the tree. How did that deer get there? The eagles didn't carry it there. So, yeah, it's real. Jane Goodall, who is one of, if not the most respected primatologist of all time, definitely is in our camp of she wants to believe. She would really love it if they were out there. In an NPR interview, she said that she said this. She's like, I want to believe. I'm a bit of a romantic. I would love it if it was out there.
That's
She's
cool.
like, I don't know why we haven't found any body, but I want it to be there. Like, yeah, obviously I want Sasquatch to exist. Like, oh, Jane. Yes, of course. But yeah, so there's like so I read the porch structures, twisted trees, like, yeah, lots of nests. There's weird stuff. They seem to be interested in like gift giving kind of a things. Like, if you are in an area where you suspect one of the wood boogers could be, you can leave out like a shiny trinket or some fruit, or they like peanut butter allegedly a lot. Who doesn't? And you can leave it a little snack, like it's a big furry magpie, and then you go and you fuck off and hide for a bit, and then when you come back, sometimes it'll eaten up the stuff, and then it'll leave you like a nice little rock.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's just kind of like, some base information about the Bigfoot, where it can be found, like I was saying, primarily in the Pacific Northwest, but all across America. There's also like a brush ape that's spotted in like some of the more like scrubby areas of the country, that sort of a thing. Yeah, I love it. I want it to be real so bad that it's something that takes up a lot of my time thinking about, and has my entire life, is just desperately wanting the Bigfoot to be real, which is why I don't think I'll ever see it. I want it so bad, and it's like, oh God, are you obsessed with me? So it doesn't want to show itself.
So obsessed with me.
Why are you so obsessed with me? I was like, because you're cool, dude. I'm
Um,
gonna give you a cheese biscuit and be friends.
yeah, the podcast that I listened to, and then I watched like one YouTube video on it. Um, was they talked about like heavily wooded areas seem to be like the natural
Mm-hmm.
environment, like not desert areas, like at all. Like it's like that's why they're found in Canada and like along the west coast of North
Mm-hmm.
America,
And
and then
the
also just heavily wooded areas. Because I've heard
yeah,
of like Montana having them too.
yes, Montana, like anywhere where like it's mountainous and woody, definitely has them. But also they seem to do well in swamp areas, places like the Everglades, and in some of the more like foresty swamps in the South. I don't know if you've ever like taken a peek at like videos or whatever of what the swamps in like Arkansas, Louisiana, that kind of stuff. But they're heavily forested, but they're very swampy, and with the high moisture and the high vegetation concentration there, it offers a wider variety of wild food for them to
Hmm.
eat. Because that's one of the big things that like naysayers like to say is like, in this state, there's not enough food for there's no way, like that the species couldn't survive because of deforestation, bibbly boppity bloop. I'm like, it's just, I'm like, I just think it's such bullshit because they're clearly clever creatures who were able to adapt and are probably omnivorous. Like, I would be very surprised to find out that the wood booger did not also, along with eating vegetation, eat fish and salmon or small, like little critters that it could catch, eggs, that sort of a thing. So areas like the Everglades and like the swamp systems of the American South could offer a lot to a Sasquatch in that respect because it's a very biodiverse area.
Yeah, and I mean you don't know necessarily like what they can digest and what they can't. I mean like if
Yeah,
they
because
can
nobody's ever
eat
found their shit.
if I mean if they can eat, like fucking branches or some shit if they get hungry enough, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more out there. One of the things that I thought was really interesting in the interview I listened to, is a dude who'd been researching it for a really long time, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the guy who's being interviewed. I'll link it in the bio. But they talked about the potential for these creatures, to have evolved differently than we did, like along the great ape line. But if they have the ability to camouflage themselves in some way, that's why they can't always be seen. Or, there's sometimes some accounts of um, them being, I guess, like there but not being able to be seen, or they disappear very quickly,
Yeah,
almost like just like instantly, if they have like the same camouflaging uh adaptability that like you see in like octopuses, like where they can, or like lizards and all that, like just they can chameleon, like camouflage themselves very quickly.
yeah. Um,
What are your thoughts?
that's well, I want to just dive into wild speculation. Do you feel like we've talked about what a Bigfoot is enough that we can
Sure, let's
speculate now?
yeah,
Because
let's
this is
yeah, let's wildly
okay.
speculate.
I wonder sometimes, and this makes some Bigfoot people get really irritated and like whatever. I don't care. We're talking about Bigfoot here. Shut up and let me have my weird thoughts. What if he's an interdimensional being who isn't always there?
Yeah, that's
And
that's
see, that
interesting.
could be part of the reason why like you can see him and then that glimmer and then it's gone, like, you know,
Yeah, my
there's some sort
understanding
of
is
like a magical.
there's like a whole niche, part of the Sasquatch community that believes exactly that. That like he is either an alien, interdimensional being, but that's why it's so easy for them to disappear. It's why bodies haven't
Mm-hmm.
been found. Like maybe,
Yeah, that's why we
Squatch
don't
is an
find their scat.
alien. Yeah,
Yes, and
like
like well, the aliens I also believe are interdimensional. Sorry, my headphones are being weird. Um, my my belief on aliens is that they're also interdimensional beings. So and like a lot of like that weird feeling, weird vibe, like weird, like kind of mistiness and like
feeling
out
like
of
we're being
body,
watched.
like yes, like in like that weird experience. Like some people have claimed that the Sasquatch has communicated with them telepathically. So like they feel that they can like sense where it is, or that they've sent a
Ooh.
message to them from the Sasquatch, like through like telepathy, I've just been like, it's fine, just kind of stay out of this end of the forest, dude. It's my spot, bro. I feel
That's
like if
that's super interesting. The documentary I was telling you about,
mhm.
Gods Among Us, it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
They talk about a universal like telepathic language that's communicated through symbols. And it's like instantaneous, like it's literally like universal, like your mind deciphers it like very quickly, like like in your mind's eye, like you see the images and then decipher it, and like that's how a lot of people have claimed that aliens have interacted with them, or an
Yep.
interdimensional being. You know, if you want to go real deep into the woo, but like
Like
this
the
is
Fae.
this is something though that there's a guy, he's a quantum biologist, and he studies this. I want to say it's at Stanford. I could be incorrect. Once again, I'll link his stuff in the bio, but he talks about that, like our vibrations and like being able to send telepathic messages. Like this might be like next week's topic. Like we might dive deeper into that. But yeah, like a
Ooh, that'd be
telepathic,
fun.
like universal
Yeah.
language. So that's cool. I mean, that would go along with the whole alien sort of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or a higher
Interdimensional.
evolved being.
Correct. And like there are some people who really feel that the Sasquatch is a very wise, very like with it spiritually being, and like, you know, like I was saying, like you can communicate telepathically with them, and that the reason why we haven't been able to in like capture one or intrude that much into their life is that they are highly aware of where we are and what we're up to, and can just get the fuck out of there if they don't
Yeah,
want to deal with our shit.
interesting.
Did you see that lightning? Good lord.
Mm-mm.
There's like a
No.
full-fledged storm happening over here, kids.
It looks very bright.
Love
Oh
it.
no, I heard that thunder. I just
Yeah, you
picked
can
up
hear the
that thunder.
thunder. And the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes.
It's a great
I'm gonna
song.
listen to some Garth Brooks
I
here in a
fucking
minute.
love that song.
Um, me too. So here's the question that I love to ask people. Megan, have you ever had an encounter with the foot?
I have not. I have not.
No.
No, no. I've been in the woods and smelled gross people, but I think they were dirty hippies, so
I yeah.
not
Yeah. I
not
mean, I've
anything
smelled
more.
me after like a few weeks in the woods and just like, Jesus, girl, find a stream.
Woo. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
oof. Yeah.
Get some baby
But
wipes next time you go to town.
have you had an
Um,
experience with the Squatch?
so I have a story that is unfortunately not a first-hand account of me running into the Sasquatch, but it is the time that I came the closest to thinking that I saw the Squatch.
Okay.
And then I'll tell a couple of like stories that I got from people firsthand. Um,
Lay it on me.
but so I was this would have been the year 2011. I was
Mm.
camping with my ex. We were up in Swan Falls in Idaho, which is prime Squatch territory, and I was on Sasqu-watch the entire time.
I like that pun.
Thank you, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I'm amazing. It's fine. But so I'm fully on Sasquatch, but one of the things that is key to being on Sasquatch, but can also be detrimental to it as well, is the consuming cannabis.
Mm.
Like you need to a little bit in order to like really get into the woods and like get there.
Tap
But if you
tap
do it
tap
too,
in. Yeah.
just to tap into like opening your frequencies so the Squatch can talk to you psychically. But if you imbibe too much cannabis, you'll just end up sitting in your tent staring out of the weird mesh window with your binoculars, and then when something moved deep in the woods.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like tapping the guy. I was like, hey, give me my camera, give me the camera. It's the Squatch. And I was like, is it the Squatch? I don't know. It might not be. And I was like, you shut up, no time for you. And like I took my camera out and just click, like just nonstop taking pictures, because I was like, one of them will be
Good.
usable.
Yeah.
And there's this big brown thing like humped in the woods and like moving forward, and I was like, it's not a bear? And he was like, it's not a bear, it's definitely, I don't know what it is, not a bear. And like Dag the dog, or Doberman, you remember Dag? She was
Mhm.
like she was like freaking out a little bit in the tent, and yeah, so we're just clicking, and then it finally burst through the undergrowth, and it was a yearling moose,
That's still
which
scary
was
though.
still it was still cool, and like my dumbass was like, I'm gonna get out and take a picture of it, and he was like, no, East
Moose
Coast
are
dummy,
no.
that
Oh my
moose is
god.
super dangerous, and its mother, we just haven't seen its mom yet, it's coming. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
okay.
like
So
really scary actually. Like I
yeah, a
would be
moose is
fucking
actually
terrified. Like they're
way
really
more dangerous than the
dangerous.
Sasquatch. Yeah, so this yearling moose then like came into our campsite and like knocked over our chairs and like snuffled around and like did all this shit. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Oh. And then the dog was just losing its mind the whole time. And I was like, the mother moose is gonna murder us all. But since I didn't have a good solid Sasquatch story, I decided to go back a generation and ask my daddy, who's got a good story for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And when my dad was in the Coast Guard, he was stationed in Alaska and Oregon. So I called him up and I said, Daddy, while you were out in Alaska or running around in Oregon, like I know you were spent some time in the woods doing all that kind of shit. Like, did you see the Squatch? And he was like, well, no, I didn't see anything when I lived in Alaska or Oregon. Saw it back in Mount Herman, though, which is where my dad's house is in North Carolina, back in Mount Herman. I was like, shut the front door, Dad. Tell me about the swamp ape. Skunk ape, for sure. And so my dad told me that when he was a kid, and this is probably 1970, 71, so he was about 6, 7 years old.
Okay.
It was Christmas Eve, and they were all over at my great-grand's house. And my great-grand's house is still exactly where it was, like down in the holler, as we call it, Grant or Garn's Holler.
Mhm.
Um, and there's daddy and dad and grandpa's houses up on the hill. Come down the hill and go around the corner a little ways, and there's great grand's house. And back in the day, it was much more wooded, and they're like, I mean, it's still middle fucking nowhere, rural backwoods, North Carolina, but it was even more backwoods then, if you'll believe it. So, daddy and my uncle Wes and some of the cousins, probably Shirley's girls, were all like running around at great grand's house, just their grand's house, and like Christmas Eve, whatever, and they were like, you kids go. Too many of you. Blah. And I went outside to go play in the yard, and it was dark, but it was the 70s, so who cares? And the kids all go around the corner down the to the sidewalk and saw this great big hairy thing hunched over there stand up. They saw it, it saw them. They started screaming and heading back towards the house, and it just took off.
Hmm. It wasn't like a bear or anything?
And that's why I said, I was like, Daddy, was it a bear? And he was like, well, I mean, I guess it could have been a bear.
Sounds like the most southern story.
Right. Well, it could. He's like, I guess it could have been a bear. I was like, well, Dad, did it stand up when it ran off? And he was like, shit, Hannah, I don't remember. This was the 70s. I love him so much. So I was like, so yeah, so it was like, I'm pretty sure it stood up and ran off. There was a bunch of them that saw it. I just didn't have a chance to call half of the population of Caldwell County today to get the
Yeah.
confirmation.
Yeah.
And just be like, Lurleen, did you see the Sasquatch with my daddy back in 71 at great grand's house?
I wonder though if
Never.
like a lot of accounts are like that though.
Well,
You
so
know, where
here's
it's
an
like it's
interesting
such a
thing.
quick glimpse.
Yeah, there are a lot of accounts of Sasquatch or a great hairy creature being found kind of like hanging out like at the house at the edge of the woods, which grandpa's or great grand's house absolutely was at that point. The house at the edge of the woods. So, oh, what's going on in there? Oh, huh, neat, interesting. Because I bet, we're just as much fun to watch as animals are,
Yeah.
like. So maybe it was like creeping up, trying to look. Maybe it wanted to get at some of like the shiny paper wrapping that had been put in the trash, whatever. And then all these children suddenly spill out of the house
Yeah.
and scared the hell out of it, frankly.
Yeah.
And Dad said he never thought it was a bear.
Have other people seen like Sasquatch around that area?
Yes. There's the Roadhiss. Roadhiss is near that area, and there's frequent sightings of this skunk ape around Roadhiss. prints are found. Unfortunately, like that ranch I was on earlier, about 94% of them are bullshit high schoolers getting drunk and doing dipshit things, setting back the research for the rest of us. But
Yeah.
but there's a reason why they prank it in that area, because it's been seen in that area.
Hmm.
Like the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, the Blue Ridge Mountain National Park, all that stuff is not far off from my hometown, and that's pretty wooded and secluded area. It wouldn't surprise me to find that, if that area could sustain a Sasquatch or two, just based off of like the density of the forest, and therefore like the biodiversity and the natural resources. Also, the fact that a lot of it is like rather difficult to get up into. So, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of caves, just a hell of a lot of cave systems.
Yeah.
So another reason for why the Sasquatch could disappear so quickly is to just boop into a cave real quick. It knows
Yeah.
it's there. We don't know it's there.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's
Yeah. Or it's an alien.
where this is possible too. Where's that famous video? Like, like the famous Sasquatch
The
video?
Patterson Gimlin film.
Where was that taken?
I'm actually gonna look that up really quickly because I did not put down. Hang on.
So I don't know if anyone else knows this video, but the video I'm talking about is like the most famous
The
caught
footage was
on
shot in
film.
1967 in Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's old. It's that very classic one that we've all seen. I guess we've all seen. I'm just now finding out that you haven't dedicated at least a quarter of your life to Bigfoot research.
I've seen that video.
assumed.
Like it's to describe it for everyone who's listening who is not, watching. It's a video that shows a Bigfoot basically walking on the opposite side of a river bank, into the woods, away from the person filming. And what's really interesting about it is that it's like it's a pretty clear video, and it also shows like really clearly the muscles on the creature, whereas like someone
Yes.
wearing a suit, it would be a lot looser.
We can talk a little bit lightly about this, but I would absolutely
Yeah.
love to do a deep dive into the Patterson Gimlin film, which is part of what my interview with Jeff Meldrum was about all those years ago, because he's broken down the muscle structure, and like you can clearly see the buttocks, you can see how it goes, but like, yeah, like it's one of the oldest. It's the original like piece of footage that's captured the world's imagination into this thing is real. It could be out there, and it's the oldest. It's the first, and it cannot be debunked.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not wrong. Like the way that creature moves, it's not somebody in a suit. I've seen enough videos that are like somebody in a suit, and it makes me sad. Though, and I'm gonna post a link to it. That video that I sent to you that you did not find compelling, but
Yeah,
I
super
did.
not compelling.
Okay, and again, I've told you that
The one
fucking
famous
rule
one I thought was really compelling, so because it was so
yes,
clear.
But rule 1 for when you're doing Bigfoot research is to ingest enough cannabis that you can let it in.
Yeah, like I said, I want to believe, but that one to me straight up looks like somebody in a suit, because they disappear and like.
And
I don't know.
we're talking about them possibly quantum jumping just a moment ago. Like, that's fine, but this one's not okay for you?
No, just because the guys who were filming it seemed kind of fake. Like, it seemed fake, and also I hate it so much when people are filming, their experience, and then they start running with their camera. And then all of a sudden it becomes like complete chaos. Look, there's grass and a tree and grass and a tree.
And the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah, it's just like Blair Witch Project style. Like, it's super irritating. Like, just stay in one spot and like zoom. Like, just zoom. I don't know. That's my opinion. So I'm sure in the moment it feels very
different.
Exciting. Yeah, but yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either. Yeah, I deeply want Bigfoot to be real. I want to be camping one day and I want the Squatch to gently saunter by, see me go, and then I'll offer him a beer and he'll be like, cool, thanks, dude. And then we'll shotgun a beer together.
That would be cool. That would be.
It would be cool. It doesn't
It's a
have
good.
to go down exactly like that.
I want to
I
like
would
create
like it though if it
art
could just
like of like just a Sasquatch like just chilling by a fire, just like drinking a beer.
just shotgunning a beer with me, and like we're just bros, like
Yeah.
and we're just
Yeah.
gonna shotgun a beer because I'm really good at shotgunning beers.
It's fun to do
I'm
still.
33 years old. You'd think I'd be done trying to prove that I can shotgun a beer, and like, no, I can do it. Give me the key.
It's still fun to try. It's still fun to try.
It sure is.
Do you have any other stories about Squatch?
I sure do, actually. So there's my dad's story, and then I was asking around, and my buddy Brighton, what's up, Brighton? He called his stepdad, or not his stepdad, his granddad, and let me find my notes from the story.
Okay.
So his grandfather saw some interesting tracks in the late 80s or early 90s. He said he couldn't quite remember when it had happened, but it was before Brighton was born. And he was right around the Salmon River, and it was in the winter time, and there were tracks that he described as being barefoot tracks, looking more like a person's than anything else, and being longer than his boot.
Okay.
And he followed the tracks for a while, but he never could catch up with whatever the creature was.
And he just thought, let's chase this creature. There's some big ass tracks.
Well, he was up hunting, so and they
hunting
they've
bears?
been in Idaho for a while. They're like Idaho people.
I was just about to say, like, I don't think like I would find big tracks in the wood and be like, let's follow those ones.
Yeah,
I'm not hunting whatever that creature is, but I'm gonna follow those tracks.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow
those tracks.
Danger,
Will Robinson, danger.
Danger. Yeah, some people, I don't have that. If I saw tracks like that, I'd be like, interesting, let's go. I would immediately follow them.
I mean, I guess if you have a gun,
probably to my death.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
You know, he probably had to be prepared to run into like a bear or a moose or some shit like that. Moose are so much scarier than they look like they should be.
Yeah.
They have those big dumb faces.
Well, especially if like you watch Brother Bear and like you see the moose like in Brother. I don't know why, but that's what I think of.
Yeah, or like Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, exactly. But like, do you know moose can swim underwater?
Yes. And like everybody seems to think that a moose and like a deer are the same size, or at least I guess I used to think that like moose and deer were the same size.
No, like look at a moose and like a bear side by side. Like that's pretty trippy.
They're the same size. Moose are gigantic. Like, they're horrifying. Holy goddamn shit. They're so scary.
Like super dangerous. Like, so all you non-Americans, if you are ever in America and you see a moose or in Canada, in a national park, don't approach it. Don't approach the moose.
Do not approach the moose. Do not approach the moose. So, you know, Brighton's grandfather being like, you know, a well-practiced woodsman would have been prepared for like a mare or a moose. A bear or a moose. So I feel like if I was in preparation to run into one of those known creatures, then seeing a possible cryptid track would make me be like, yeah, let's follow it.
Let's do it.
And then, but he could never catch up with the creature. He saw the tracks again, I think, and like his brother, Brighton's brother, who goes up there, who's like a professional elk caller and like leads like tours and like helps people like leads like hunting trips and things like that up there, and just spends all his damn time in the woods, has heard in Idaho, has heard like the howls and like screams and stuff. He's like, that's not a bear, that's not a fucking wolf, like no. Yeah, like he's heard the Sasquatch, but he hasn't seen it. And it seems like it's much more common to hear, smell, see some sort of a sign of it than to see the creature itself.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard about was knocking, that like knocking in the wood as signaling is like a common thing.
But also that's so easy to fake. I'm so sorry, my earbud is just being so stupid.
Well, like I don't know. I guess the thing that I heard is like people would go out to the woods in like the middle of the night and just like knock and get an instant knock back is kind of trippy.
Oh, I hate that.
Like, but that's also one of those like you can talk about like skinwalkers and like shit like that where it's
Could
like
we? Like, we'll have to talk about skinwalkers at some point because they
I think I
scare
think
the
we've talked about like that a couple
motherfucking
times.
shit out of
That's the thing.
me.
They're super scary and like
They're
technically you're not
so
supposed to
fucking
talk about
scary.
them, right? Like
No, I
cuz if
was
you
gonna say,
talk
like,
about
can you
them
shut
you
up? Shut
attract
up.
you attract
Shut up.
them to
Shut
you.
up. Shut up. Shut up.
You're in a big city. They're not going to come get ya.
You don't know that. We're uninitiated. We're not allowed to talk about their shit.
I feel like I'm more likely to have that happen than you.
Yeah, because you're at the house at the edge of the woods
I am. So,
where all the
terrifying.
creatures will come
It's a
to get you.
disgusting sound.
Isn't that horrible?
Please don't do
Yeah.
it again.
My darling partner Nicholas got me a new microphone, which was super sweet of him, and now I can do things like this.
I hate it. Please stop. I hate
No,
I
you
like
love it.
I feel so bad for anyone wearing headphones and like listening to this podcast.
No, they should know by now. It's episode 12. They've been hanging out. They've been hanging
guess
out.
that's
Like,
true.
come on, kids.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
interesting.
Bigfoot, man. I want him to be real. I don't know that he is, and I would give up my left pinky finger to be able to like have a face-to-face encounter with the Squatch in which he did not smash my brain.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm
are
not doing
there
anything with it. Like, I'd still be cute without a left pinky. Like, that's not changing my face. So, like, I'll give it up. Like, maybe it's not a big enough sacrifice, and that's why I haven't seen him. But
are there any accounts of people being like attacked?
yeah, there's like some older accounts of it. Again, these are things where like today this week, dude, I got like sucked into some YouTube black holes, and like just there's so much info out there, and there are a lot of really interesting and specific cases that I want to get into that I didn't write down any information about because I wanted to get into them on a later date. So I just did general Bigfoot overview today. Again, this is
Okay.
Bigfoot 101. Thank you for attending. But yes, no, there are cases where there have been alleged like Bigfoot attacks on humans. There are cases where there was a sighting of like a human child who had been adopted by possible Sasquatches, and like this is like back in frontier times. Like more of these like more things where there were direct violence or like human aggression seem to happen in the frontier times, seem to happen when like these places were starting to be colonized. So like maybe that the Sasquatch population was much greater then because they had more free land to roam around in. Every single indigenous well, I guess I can't speak for all of them, but like based on my research, like a lot of indigenous populations in America have some sort of a story or like something about a Sasquatch or Bigfoot, which leads me to believe that pre-Columbian times there were probably more of them there.
Yeah.
And like always seem to be held in like very high reverence and like very much like they're over there, we're over here kind of a thing.
Who's the guy in North Idaho? Who's the expert?
Meldrum.
Meldrum. Yeah, the YouTube video I watched that'll link, he talked about how like there's an estimated like population of like 3,500 in like North America. So like they think it's like, you know, like a somewhat decent sized population.
Yes, but I would imagine that the pre-Columbian and then pre-colonization of the West Coast population was much higher.
Oh yeah,
because
no, for sure.
So much deforestation.
I'm just saying right now.
Happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like I could see that. Like there's still enough to have pretty large like grizzly bear populations and like that kind of stuff, and like there's been some pretty decent reforestation acts going on. Kind of.
Yeah.
People suck, man. If we fucking kill off the Bigfoot, I'm gonna be so sad. If you see a Bigfoot, don't shoot it, you fucks. There's some people out there who like their whole thing is like, I'm gonna shoot that Bigfoot. Go fuck yourself, dude.
I mean, then we would actually have a body though. So
what?
I said then we actually would have a body though to study. So like I get like if you're doing it for a trophy, like yeah,
no.
obviously like that's
I don't care
bad.
if it's
but
for science. You let it live. You let people not believe you forever rather than take down the one like maybe it's the last one.
Maybe.
And
But
it's
then it'll be in a
pregnant. Leave it
museum.
alone. What?
I said, but then it'll be in a museum. Honestly, no, probably like ripped off, like by the government or whatever, and then like we
Yeah,
never see
absolutely.
it.
Oh, they
So
have one in
maybe that's
wherever they're.
why we don't find bodies, right? Because the U.S. government
Yeah,
hides
'cause
it. So
I don't think that they have that kind of ability.
conspiracy. If they're aliens, they do.
I just don't believe in the U.S.
But like if they're
government at all.
actually
I just think
aliens,
they're
then it's
so-
like, you wouldn't want someone to find a body, right? I don't know. We can talk
And they
about
could be
aliens next week.
interdimensional species like or interdimensional beings like the Loch Ness monster, which I fully believe is a time traveling plesiosaur. But
I totally know what that is.
I
So
didn't go to college, so
I know what you're talking about so much. The time traveling.
Oh no, we'll get into how Nessie is a time traveling plesiosaur at some point, but yeah, you know what? I personally I don't feel like I have any more to add that would be of any use and isn't just me rambling into this fancy new microphone, which I love to do.
That's most of our podcast is rambling. So
yeah, it seems to be mostly me just steamrolling you, but I hope people are enjoying it.
Yeah, a little bit. It's okay. I
love you.
I get jabs in when I need to. So
yeah, you do.
I'm just waiting for our other co-host to appear again. So just in a different spot.
Fuck you. Oh my god. Shots fired, you bitch ass. For those of you who didn't tune in last week, I had a pretty big zit. That's like 40% of the reason why I have bangs now. To hide it. But yeah, and yeah, thanks, Megan. Thanks
You're
for bringing
welcome.
that up. I thought you meant like I was like, what is there a ghost in here? And you bitch.
That would be really cool, actually, if there was a ghost in the background, but probably not.
If we had a third podcast co-host who was a ghost, I'd be, oh my god, that'd be so good.
Anywho, everybody, please follow, like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us on Instagram. Email us your stories if you have a Squatch story.
Yeah, and that Instagram handle is Tin Hat Time Podcast. Our Gmail address is tinhattimepodcast@gmail.com, all lowercase, although I don't think that matters anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Eventually we'll be on TikTok. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. If you want to watch us doing our weird thing, you can find us on YouTube, Tin Hat Time Podcast. Everything, anywhere that you search Tin Hat Time Podcast, you see the cute little cartoon of me and Megan, you're in the right fucking place. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.